Hey everybody, wake up. This is Wake Up with Mark Joyner, episode number 68. And today we will explore the question, can the mind heal the body? All right, so this is an interesting question. First off, I know some of you guys were telling me that the levels between my voice and the intro video were so different that you had to shift the audio down. Hopefully that's corrected this time. Let me know if not. All right, so let's dig into this question with a couple of stories first. So I want to tell you about my mom. All right, so my mom had a stroke when she was very young. She was like in her mid 30s. She had a stroke. It paralyzed half her body, gave her aphasia because the stroke occurred partially in Brocau's region, which affects speech. So her speech was very disrupted from that point forward. Now, the doctors told her back then that there was nothing she could do, that brain cells do not regenerate. That was what they told her matter of factly. They didn't say this is a hypothesis. They didn't say that's the best of our understanding so far. They told her that and gave her a window through which to live her life. Now, she spent the last 30-ish years of her life in that state. You know, the best they had for her was some physical therapy and stuff like that. And, it wasn't, really doing all that much. So, she passed away in more or less the same state that she was in, when she had the stroke. Just, more addicted to painkillers, which is another problem. We're getting guys on all of these synthetic opioids, and everybody is so provincial about their attitudes about cannabis as an alternative that many people will reject the notion of trying cannabis as an alternative because they think, oh, it's bad, it's drugs, even though the science is clearly in favor of cannabis over synthetic opioids as an analgesic. Now, yes, it's not going to be as effective. The CBD is not as strong, but it is something that people should explore, I would think, especially given the zero level of toxicity of cannabis and the extremely high hepatotoxicity of opioids and synthetic opioids. But I digress. So fast forward to now, after she has passed away. It's been, let's see, when did she pass away? I think around 2003-ish, 2002, 2003, something like that. She, again, was in the same state, but since she passed away, we've discovered some things that we didn't know back then. For example, now we are aware of this concept of neurogenesis. You can, in fact, stimulate the growth of brain cells. This is possible. This is known. They didn't know it back then, but despite the fact that this is something that changed, that science, our understanding of science, our scientific body of knowledge is constantly under evolution, there are many medical doctors who will give you matter-of-fact pronouncements about things. You've probably heard stories about some of the many men who were told, you will never walk again, only to come back and say, you know what, with the power of my mind, I visualized my body back into health. And now I am walking again. Even though you told me matter-of-factly, I will never walk again. All right, so can the mind heal the body? Well, I think clearly the answer is yes. To what degree, we don't know, right? But let me give you some very, very clear examples of this, of how we know that the mind can affect the healing process of the body. Some unequivocal things, in my estimation. If you watch a movie, that movie is not affecting your body so far as we know. Who knows? Maybe it is. Maybe we'll discover that. But so far as we know, you're watching something, it's entering your mind, and that movie can make you laugh or cry or experience a range of emotions. Now we know that the different range of emotions will have different effects on your body. For example, we know that when we're feeling extreme stress, or that when you're sad and you're not experiencing joy and optimism and happiness, you will have a negative effect on your parasympathetic nervous system, and this will impair your body's ability to heal. So at that rock bottom foundational level, we know for a fact that the way you conduct your mind does have some role in whether or not you are going to heal. Now, does visualizing the body healing actually affect the healing process? I believe it does. I believe it does. Are there any controlled experiments to show this? I think it would be a very, very tough thing to control for. I'm not aware of any hard science to support this notion, but am I going to limit myself because there is no hard science? Why would I do that? Why would I do that? Should I only limit myself to the things that have been studied formally, right? Are there any peer-reviewed controlled studies? Should that be my gold standard? If you've watched my wake-up videos or some of the other things I've put out there before, you've probably heard me rant about the broken nature of the peer review system and about the corruptibility of the scientific institutions that we have been trained to trust. We know that there are times throughout history, I'm not saying this happens all the time, I'm not saying it's all corrupt, I'm not saying all peer review is broken, but what I am saying is that broken peer review exists and that corrupt science exists. Okay, and we also know, on top of that, that there are doctors who are telling you things that they have no effing right to tell you. Okay? No doctor should ever have the right to come and tell you, you will never heal. How can he possibly know that? He can't possibly know that. Now, if my mom had been exposed to different information, would her outcome have been different? Possibly, I don't know. That would have been up to her. She wasn't a very optimistic person to begin with, so maybe it wouldn't have changed her. I don't know. That's part of why she had a stroke at such an early age, I believe. She was constantly focused, and God bless her. I'm not trash talking my mom. This is just reality. Okay? If she had conducted herself differently, if she had better dietary patterns, if she was not constantly stressed out and worrying about things, if she had made different choices, if she had chosen to move and exercise her body more, I don't think she would have had a stroke at 36. I don't think she would have experienced all of that. Had she been given the right information that, hey, neurogenesis is a known phenomenon, you can in fact recover from that stroke, at least partially, if not completely, would she have conducted herself differently? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Clearly, there are outside factors that affect our health as well, right? I know for me, the environment that I'm in has a huge effect on me. It's one of the reasons why I'm not in Manila, right? I love the people out there. I love the city. The place the part of Manila that I was in was wonderful. Not all parts of Manila are wonderful, but the pollution got to me. The pollution got to me. It was a real problem. There was no escape. Now, had I developed my mind to the extent that those things do not have an effect on me, is that possible? Would it have been possible for me to ratchet up my self-recuperative abilities? Could I have, through some power of visualization and positive thinking, the right attitude, and all of the right lifestyle changes, could I have blunted those effects or removed them completely? I don't know. I'm a little skeptical about that. I haven't experienced it, but I'm also open to it. There are men who seem to be able to thrive on smoking cigars and drinking liquor, for into their late years. Are we going to say that's all genetics? Well, now that we know about epigenetics, how can we say that? How can we say it's all genetics when we know that you can, through your behavior, flip epigenetic switches that can change the entire outlook of your entire body, which can also change the epigenetic switched state that you pass on to your children? Now that we know that, is it all genetics? Clearly not, right? Clearly not. Clearly there's something about the way those men were conducting their lives where they could get away with it. Now, I have not been able to experience that. Right? Maybe there is some level of mastery that is attainable, but I have not experienced it. Part of this whole thing is being real with yourself about, what you can and can't do. It's a very delicate balance. How do you balance having a positive attitude and visualizing that you are healthy with, the reality of what you can and can't control, or at least, with your current level of skill and knowledge? It's a very difficult thing to balance, right? But what I do know is that if I push the envelope on some of those things that I know physically have caused me problems in the past, tends to resurface, right? If I go out and I have a night of drinking and I smoke a cigarette, right, which is something that hasn't happened for a long, long time, I know that the effects on my body are pretty dire for a long period of time. I know that it takes me weeks to recover from that at this point. Can that change? Who knows? I don't know. If any of you watching know how to change that, if I could flip that situation up, I would do it. I would do it. But I have to face the reality for what it is. So can the mind heal the body? I think the answer is unequivocally yes. To what extent, we don't know. But why would you cut that possibility off from yourself at all? Why would you not employ that tool? Why would you not be visualizing yourself as healthy? Why would you not be carrying your body as a healthy person? I can tell you right now, I just had a cold for a few days. It was one of the reasons why I didn't do my wake-up videos, because I had a pretty bad cough. And I fell into despair on one of those days. I was like, man, this really sucks. And I was really giving in to the feeling of being sick. And that made things worse. Now, the very next day, I knew that my trainer was going to show up regardless. And I said, okay, soldier, you got to get your shit together now. Get it together. Start carrying yourself like a man who is in control of his life. Start carrying yourself with a positive attitude and push your way through this. You know that the way you carry yourself and the way that you think in your mind and the way that you're talking about it, the way you're conducting yourself, the way you are seeing your illness, through the lens of despair, the lens of optimism, is going to affect your ability to heal. So get that part together. Why would you not avail of that? Okay, when we know that medicine does not heal you, all right, the medicine facilitates the healing that the body does. When we know that that's true, why would we not take every advantage of that we could? Why would we fall into despair? And I will leave you to ponder that, and I will talk to you probably Sunday. I don't know if I'm going to get one in tomorrow. I got to fly up to Bangkok to get a suit fitted for an event I will be speaking at up in Bangkok on June 9th. It's a gift to me by the lovely folks who are putting this event together. They flew me up there to see a world-class tailor, which was a very, very nice gift, I got to say. I'm a guy who kind of wears tank tops and shorts all the time. They wanted me to be in a suit, and I said, I'll go get one, and they offered to buy one for me. And I thought, well, that's nice. I'm not going to turn down my blessings. It was an awesome thing. Anyway, that's what I'll be doing tomorrow. May or may not do a wake-up video. If you don't see me tomorrow, I'll be back on Sunday, Thailand time. Otherwise, y'all have a beautiful day meanwhile.